I am not a fan of this. I don't understand
No,
why
really.
I don't understand why the Las Vegas Raiders did this. I mean,
Conor McGregor's
you
Cincinnati.
it was a it was that meme I seen when it happened. Basically, with it was a guy, he was wearing like a burgundy plaid shirt, and he had like another he had the same one in his hand, and he was like, when you go from Derek Carr to Jimmy G, it's like the same shirt. Um, I mean, yeah,
The grandpa.
I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, the grandfather. Yep, I'm not really, like I said again, I'm not really a huge fan of this. Uh, I'm 100% convinced that the Raiders are just they're in the business of losing. Um, Obviously, many people seen that Devontae Adams came out and basically his first initial thing he said on Instagram Live was, or not Instagram Live, but on Instagram he posted to a story basically like, if you haven't been getting in contact with me, in the past couple weeks, don't try to hit me up now. And then he reinstated his saying by he was basically saying, it's all good, man. Hey, Jimmy G, let's come here and get this work in type stuff. So I feel like he's not obviously in translation. He's not happy about it. You go from, and if I'm him, I don't see how could you be. You go from having my college roommate. The reason why I even came to Vegas outside of the money, and Derek Carr, he's then it gets so bad that he's not even playing. He's not even dressing out with us at the end of the season, and then you guys release him, and then you go in and get Jimmy G. And I mean, and one of my things that I continue to stick by is that they got rid of Derek Carr, but Derek Carr was never ever afforded a top tier defense in this league. All the years he's been quarterbacking for the Raiders, he's never had a top 10 defense. So, and when you look at how teams compete nowadays, you look at all the teams that make it to the end of the road, they have top tier defenses or bracketing inside of the top tier defenses. So, I just felt like I feel like they did Derek Carr a disservice. And then like I said, then going out in your big moves, Jimmy G. Like I mean, will he be a okay quarterback? Yes, of course. I mean, he's made his whole life of being an okay quarterback. But my thing is with the aspirations that this team got. I mean, you got a deep threat. Another thing, you got a deep threat receiver in Devontae Adams, and Jimmy G has never threw him a touchdown pass, I believe, over 30 yards as his 49ers tenure. So, I mean, you, I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand it. Obviously, many people, as we all should know, this deal only happened because Josh McDaniels is the head coach of I'm sorry, Las Vegas Raiders. That is why.
I still cannot get that down pat. Every time I say the Raiders, I say Oakland.
Yeah,
Still can't get it out.
no, they will always be Oakland. Staples Center will always be Staples Center. It's not crypto; it's actually Staples. But yeah. So again, that's why this happened. Um, Hopefully, hopefully I'm proven wrong. I hope I am proven wrong. But this will be a horrendous season for the Las Vegas Raiders, in my opinion. With quarterback play, it'll be horrendous.
Uh, I can't. You made very good points. I did not know the fact that he hasn't thrown a 30-yard plus touchdown pass. Does that mean in the air? Because I guarantee there's times he's shown the dump pass and Debo Samuel's taking it to the house at 60 plus yards. But
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go and confirm it. But you go ahead
it could
and talk. I'm about to
it could be
confirm it.
in the air 30-yard touchdown pass because that could be something. And then they're not considering yards after carry or yards after catch. But I'm a Jimmy G guy personally. I like him. I think he's a very very good quarterback. He does have his moments in the playoffs where he's very he doesn't they don't he doesn't get the passing attempts. He doesn't throw a lot in the postseason. But as far as the Raiders personally go, I've never been a big fan of their. I don't think their system and their coach is the best. Honestly, they were. It wasn't really Derek Carr's fault last year per se because I mean there were a whole bunch of games where they just flat out blew it in the end, which is a lot on the team, but it's also a lot on the system and the coaching. A lot of times it's just ways you coach games to close out. Players make the plays early, and then they just get told the plays to do to close out this game, the right plays to make. So that's 50% coaching, 50% on the team. As far as Devontae Adams go, I can't really. I know him and Derek Carr are high school or college roommates or both.
College.
college.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they definitely had some chemistry. That's why he went out there. But when they interviewed about Aaron Rodgers in the Pro Bowl, he was saying when Derek Carr was still a Raider at the time, he was Devontae Adams was like, hey, Rod, we got stuff out here, and I'm out here, and it's great. Believe me, it's awesome. Blah blah blah. So I don't really know how. I mean, that really wasn't. It didn't really stand up and say Derek Carr's our guy. Stop that whole thing. So but yeah, I like Jimmy G. I'm a big Jimmy G guy. I see people starting the he's getting surrounded by a super team. I saw that the other day.
Right.
This was before the Darren Waller trade. In all defense, because they showed a graphic of Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, and Darren Waller, and saying, "Oh, look at the weapons Jimmy G has." Well, those weapons went 6-11 last year, so I can't really go that far. But I still I want to give Jimmy G one if he does performs well, makes the Raiders a playoff team last year. Damn, makes them a playoff team next year. I will be incredibly impressed and be proud of Jimmy G. But I'm personally, I like him. He's always surrounded by winning for the most part. Hasn't been able to get the job done, but just his aura around him, he's just been surrounded. He obviously started with the Patriots, came in, went 4-0 when Brady went out for suspension, and he's just around him. Came to San Fran. They've always had deep playoff runs, just haven't been able to the Super Bowl once. A couple of NFC Championship games, just can't get over that official hump. So I just don't know. Certain people, it's weird, are scrutinized for not getting over the hump, as opposed to other players not scrutinized for not getting over the hump, and it's two different goalposts there. But I'm been a big Jimmy G guy. I'm excited to see how he does. If he doesn't perform, as far as my idea, if he doesn't make the playoffs with the Raiders, I would kind of see that as a little bit of a hit, bad time, and I don't know how much of an impact with this Raiders team. I think they could be a wild card team. Obviously, they're not going to win the West, being in a division with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and your guy Russell Wilson and the Broncos. But yeah, I definitely see this team as possible for a wild card team because they were a wild card team last year, flat out. They just lost 8 games when having fourth quarter leads. They just didn't were not able to close. The coaching staff is still the same, so I don't know how much of a difference that's going to be. But as far as Jimmy G goes, I like him. I'm a big Jimmy G guy, and I hope he makes a move. And this obviously shows that I think the Niners are definitely in the Brock Purdy boat. Most people say Trey Lance, but if I'm the Niners, I give Brock Purdy a run. I don't care what he was surrounded by. He lost one game, and it was the NFC Championship game. So it doesn't really bother me. I give the guy a chance and let him get that starting quarterback job. I know he's got his injury, but as soon as he comes back, I still give him a chance unless Trey Lance is absolutely balling and carrying the Niners. I go back with Brock Purdy, but yeah, I think the
Yeah.
Raiders made. I'm excited to see what the Raiders did. Derek Carr, I don't think was the problem, but he wasn't the solution either. So it's just time to move on and change it up. Because sometimes it's like in many cases, sometimes you're not. It's not. He's not. He's not. It's not Derek Carr's not the reason they're losing, but he's also not the reason. He's not the answer to win the Super Bowl for this team. And it happens before. Sometimes players leave and have more success on another team because it's just a better fit for kind of look at Nick Foles. I mean, on the Eagles, he's Joe Montana. Off the Eagles, he's Joe Theismann, or not Joe Theismann, Joe.
He's John Kitna. Don't worry about it. We're gonna call him
He's
John
Nate. He's
Kitna.
Nate Peterman. He's Nate
Right.
Peterman on every other team, and he's Joe Montana on the Eagles. So
Yeah. No, I
it's
definitely pick up what you put down. This is one of the rare things that we are at two disagreeing. Like we're at two very disagreeing points here. I'm obviously, I'm not a Jimmy G guy, and you say that Jimmy G, he's going to be measured by winning. I feel like the issue is Jimmy G is not going to make the playoffs next year, and we're not going to be able to really bat an eye because we got Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, You got whom else we're looking at? Obviously Russell Wilson, give or take.
Lamar,
Lamar. We're looking
Tua,
at
Aaron Rodgers, maybe.
did you say two?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll be the quarterback or not. I don't know if he's still alive with all of his concussions. But
Well, no, we're not going there. We will go Aaron Rodgers with an asterisk beside it until he actually get there. So that's 7 guys right there. That's 7 quarterbacks. I'm not talking about teams yet. 7 quarterbacks who we know for a fact Jimmy G didn't even hold a candle to their parade.
Trevor
Yet.
Lawrence,
So,
Trevor Lawrence.
oh yeah, that's 8. You're right. That's 8. 8 quarterbacks, but he's not even holding the candle to their parade. Yet. So I mean, that's going to be the thing. The Raiders are in win now mode. Like they don't. Josh Jacobs. They're looking at Hunter Renfrow. Obviously Devontae. These guys are trying to win now. If they can just shore up some things on their back defensive end or in their defensive backs and linebackers category, if they can become a consistent defense, then they have something. Because like you mentioned, they lost a handful of their games in the fourth quarter of last season and when they were up for like 10 plus points at halftime. So I mean, like I said, when you look at it, if they can just close out games, they would be in a different situation. That's why I'm so not a fan of the whole Derek Carr thing because, I mean, you know, we sit here and blame Derek Carr. I mean, it's not like they didn't have the league, but I do understand what you're saying, though. He's not he wasn't the problem. However, he also wasn't the solution. 1,000% agree with you there. But in the day, I genuinely see it as Jimmy G's not a answer at all. But and then you mentioned the 49ers thing, which I disagree with. I understand Brock Purdy didn't lose. However, Cooper Rush also only lost 1 game when Dak was out, and that was to the team that lost in the Super Bowl. So in my view, that's Trey Lance's job. Again, if it's some type of real debacle during training, because obviously now they also got Sam Darnold. So if it's like some type of like debacle now going on, where in training camp, both of those are guys, for whatever he's worth, both of those guys are competing heavily with one another. I mean, it's neck and neck. If I'm the GM of the 49ers, I'm the head coach. I still want to go with Trey Lance. Like I say, obviously, again, knowing how good that Brock Purdy played last season, of course, that's great. End of the day, with what they want to accomplish with like kind of a West Coast style of quarterback play, with what they want to accomplish, Trey Lance is here their guy. So they're going to end up going Trey Lance as they should. But if it does get to a point to where it's any kind of slippage, or it get to a point to where he's just not ready for the league, they do know they got a guy in Brock Purdy who delivered those to an NFC championship game. And if they would have had a quarterback, they would have probably been different. But yeah,
So
Jimmy G is more of this story. Jimmy G is just not a good quarterback. I don't care much. He's an okay quarterback. An okay quarterback will not win you anything in the league. That's the issue with the stakes. And also another thing you mentioned that like he's measured, like he's got to win it all. I don't think so. And that's the thing. Jimmy G's not in the camp of winning it all. Jimmy G's in the camp of being an okay to good quarterback. And like how I'm saying, okay to good quarterback play will not get you over the hump. He's okay. He's a good quarterback. He's not. I mean, he's a starter. I give him that. He's like a bronze level starter. He's a base. He's like the quarterback starter package. Like you gotta be at least, if you want to be a starting quarterback, you gotta be at least Jimmy G. So like that's all I'm saying, man. Again, I know for a fact his win-loss record wouldn't justify that because I mean he won a lot more games. Whatever the case may be, who cares? But we will never be. It'll never be a time in our life where we sit here. Yeah, Super Bowl was won by Jimmy G. No, that would never happen. And that's the issue. He's not a guy who you look at and say, oh, okay, we can go and compete. We can go out here and we can possibly beat a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert or even a Russell Wilson for that matter. Like, we're not looking at him as, competing much. So, I mean, again, if we're looking at him as a wild card team, possibly. But, I mean, I just don't really know how far or what are the realistic expectations for Jimmy Garoppolo this season. I don't think that winning further off into the playoffs will be I'm about to say Oakland again, in the Las Vegas Raiders fan base. I don't think it'd be in their minds that we're going to go far with Jimmy G.
I see a playoff spot with Jimmy G, but real quick back to the Niners. You were saying it's Trey Lance's job. I just don't know where all this Trey Lance hype has come from. I don't know what he has done to say, "Oh wow, he's the guy we can put all our eggs in that basket, and he can lead this team." I know he only played one game last year. He played two technically, but he got injured in the first quarter, so it doesn't really count. But the one game he played, it was torrential rain. It was a tsunami basically, but they lost to the 3-14 Bears. That was one of their three losses. One of their three wins was Trey Lance. So I know it was pouring rain. They were probably just running the ball the whole time, so it doesn't really count. But it was either way. It's just a matter of whether or not. It's not like Brock Purdy got carried by a great defense. He was putting up 35 points against the Buccaneers one time. He put up very high points against who's the team?
The Buccaneers is really
the
Raiders.
Raiders.
The Raiders don't have no defense, and the Bucs defense is actually kind of abysmal as well. Like it wasn't; those aren't. When you mentioned those two teams, I mean, yeah, he put up points, but I mean, it's not like okay, those are great defense. Now again, I'm not sitting here saying Brock Purdy's bad. Like I said, he definitely exceeded all expectations. Whatever expectations we had for Brock Purdy, whenever he took the field, he exceeded that by a mile. I'm not saying he did.
Exactly.
However,
unless he won the Super Bowl.
I mean, even if he won a Super Bowl. I'm not in the count of since my starting quarterback got hurt due to injury, we're just going to roll with the backup and we're just going to call it that. Like, no, I still believe that's Trey Lance's team. I mean, we didn't really get a chance to see him in the offense. And with what the Shanahans want to do, they want to have a more mobile quarterback, hence why they didn't want Jimmy G. Not saying Brock Purdy isn't mobile, but when you look at what makes Trey Lance special is what he's also able to contribute in the running game for what the Shanahans want to do. So, again, when you look in the backfield and you're in a shotgun and you got Trey Lance at quarterback and you got on the left of him Christian McCaffrey and you got on the right of him Deebo Samuel, that's ideal for what the Shanahans want to do. Not saying I'm not anti Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, again, he exceeded all expectations by a long shot.
Wow.
However, I am a huge component of yes, Trey Lance did get hurt. However, Trey Lance was a starting quarterback last year going into the season. I don't think injury should be the reason why he's not the starting quarterback coming into this season. Injuries last season
fair.
should be the reason.
He's still going to be starter because I don't think Purdy can go game one because I don't know how long he's out on his injury, but I definitely feel like Brock Purdy earned a spot to battle for that number one.
Oh yeah, he definitely earned
whoever
it, yeah.
plays better. I think their slate is completely clean because yes, it was Trey Lance's spot at first, but Brock Purdy proved that he can play in the NFL and quite possibly saw himself going to the Super Bowl minus an injury to his UCL, I think it was. But yeah, so I think it's if I'm the 49ers, I'm looking at even. Whoever plays better gets the spot. Trey Lance was the starter. Didn't really have it. It's not like you mentioned Cooper Rush went 1-4. This will be my last point because we got one more topic to hop over. Cooper Rush he only lost one game. I know Dak isn't that guy, proved to be that guy, but Dak was when Cooper Rush came in. Dak was established. Dak was rookie. He was rookie of the year candidacies. He had great seasons. He had playoff runs. He was there. He obviously, like me and you agree, he's not that guy to win a Super Bowl, but he was more established than say Trey Lance was. When Cooper Rush, for example, Dak Prescott was inked up to a major contract at that point too. So it's not as established as Cooper Rush coming in for Dak Prescott isn't as established as Brock Purdy coming in for Trey Lance. Trey Lance
1,000%.
played
I wasn't even
not even a season.
I wasn't even trying to mention like the whole Rush and Dak thing like it was like comparable. I mean, it was just a situation where a guy was winning games. The back was winning games, and then the starter come back. Yeah, so I mean, definitely.
I was saying that too when he was going 4-1.
Yeah.
I was saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, quick point, 10 seconds before we go. Because obviously, we do got to leave this conversation. 10 seconds. If Lamar Jackson somehow ends up on the 49ers, is it even a question? Is it Okay. All right, we're good here. I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I am of the mindset too. I understand, again, it was Trey Lance's team last year, but if they somehow get Lamar Jackson, I mean, no, who cares? Like it's literally Lamar Jackson and the 49ers. That's it. But
Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Lamar.
Lamar, like that's
Lamar.
Again, I don't care what they're
Don't
talking.
it? Yeah.
Yeah,